We've shared the psychiatrist's notes and evaluation of LIEnette, and she wants to come forward and share her part of the story. Just wait for that. Until then, we still have 4 pages of additional notes. Professionals agree LIEnette is unfit for parenting, and she uses people to try and get money, to the point of even trying to get disability money from them. 7 men, 7 divorces. She claims she's raised 8 kids, although she only has 2 biological, and 23 grandkids, all by herself. No help whatsoever. And yet, her entire family wants absolutely nothing to do with her. Why? Well, let's get the opinion of a certified psychiatrist. We've already shared some of this information that has been legally given to us as its evaluation for one of those children. They have released it to us to share. Now, there are aspects of LIEnette in here, but this breaks no laws whatsoever. It is the opinion of the psychiatrist. So let's take a peek here. We've got it dated back from March 1st, 2006. Yeah, this is a life pattern of LIEnette. This isn't just back then and she changed her ways. Recall, LIEnette continues to state that she's prayed for 30 years. 30 years for a daughter. God finally blessed her with a daughter. Could you imagine being her actual biological daughters, Michelle, the real Michelle, and Lindsay? Mom, God gave you us? Could you imagine being the stepdaughters? The hatred they must feel, the disgust they must feel from this woman saying, God finally answered my prayers. And yet, I have a feeling prayers aren't being answered for her at all. She actually came to Otter Creek to stalk us to try and get money and flee from the mess that she made in Northport. And what did she do here? She made a bigger mess than she ever anticipated or intended, because somebody's finally calling her out on her fraud, her scams, her cons. The psychiatrist here says that the stepdaughter presented, and this is the stepdaughter's evaluation and report, but these are addendums or additional information, says the stepdaughter on March 1st presented to this therapist's office at 8:15 a.m. this morning, appearing to be in complete and total crisis. And why wouldn't she be? A life with LIEnette is crisis. I mean, you got to ask yourself, if you're John Crook, as crooked as he is, why in the world would he stay with LIEnette? I mean, Fish and Game show up, and on camera, she tells Fish and Game, my biggest problem is him. She posts all over the internet that he's a rug dealer, that he's a runk. She posts that he financially rapist her. Oh, that's a term we've heard before. On signs posted all over Otter Creek. Why would Crook stay with this woman? There have been 7 men. He's number 7. 6 of them were smart enough to get away. One of them is in jail, or was in jail, for attempting to unalive, and did unalive somebody. And what does LIEnette do when she's with this man who's in jail? She calls the newspaper to do an article on her because she's so incredible. She goes out of her way, won't work so that she can have conjugal visits with him. Yeah, there's an entire newspaper article on that. She loves to call the paper. Let's see what she says now, which, by the way, we are the community paper now. Lives have changed. It's all on YouTube, the largest media platform in the world. So the stepdaughter was crying hard enough and had difficulty breathing and said, I can't live this anymore. I can't live this or here anymore. There. Okay. All right. George has been pulling some diabetes on us. Apparently she can read. So it's spreading in Otter Creek. It's coming across the street now. Don't worry. We will get our circle, dot. Now we get our diabetes shot. This therapist.
That was an error.
It's crossed out. I'm not sure what it is. George has read this all before. This is my initial glance at it. Okay, I've read it too, but it was a long time ago. We've had this in our possession for months now. It says, this therapist processed what happened that led to the stepdaughter to be so upset. The stepdaughter reported that problems started last night on February 28th, 2006, when the stepdaughter used a household dish to feed the dogs. Now that seems pretty normal. You're going to feed the dogs, go ahead and use a dish. Now, I do understand because, I'm kind of a germphobe. I won't eat after somebody unless I'm so starving that I have to. I won't drink after somebody. Like if somebody has a can of pop and they drink from it, I would never ever swap spit with that person. There are very, very, very few people in this world that I would ever swap spit, drink after, eat after. Now, George loves to eat at a restaurant and get a fork and then eat, and then she shoves it in my mouth, and that's why I'm so fat. She makes me eat after her. But I get not wanting to eat from a dog bowl. But here's the beautiful thing. You wash it and you clean it. And guess what? It's good to go again. And frankly, if you've seen LIEnette's mouth is much, much filthier than any animal I've ever seen. That's just me personally. That's my opinion. Okay. So the stepdaughter reported that her stepmother and guardian, which is Lacey Griffey, which is the name right here. This is one of LIEnette's 39 aliases. 39 known. And the fourth with her now claiming to be a senior, okay? And so she went by Lacey all of her life. It was her stage name. She was stripper on the pole while she's somehow an ordained minister. How in the world you figure those two things out, I don't know. Now, for those who go, you know what, stripping on the pole, it's an honest living. Somebody's going to do it. It's okay. Listen, it's all right, okay? You can think whatever you want to think. This is what the hell's. I'm going to share with you that I have a problem with LIEnette saying that she was a stripper and she's proud of it and she has no regrets and she's not sorry for it, but then saying she's an ordained minister, okay? I don't care that she was a stripper. I don't care that somebody's an ordained minister. I care when they say, well, I'm doing it and I have no shame and I'm an ordained minister. That's the problem I have. The two don't fit together at all. So no matter what you feel about a stripper or what you feel about an ordained minister, there are people who are going to go, well, I love people who dance on poles. And they're going to go, I hate ordained ministers. And there are going to be people that go, I hate people who dance on poles, but I love ordained ministers. Listen, I don't care what you hate, what you like. The problem is the two don't coexist in this world together. You can't be one. You can't be both. You can't be one and the other and be both. You're either this one or this one. And she claims both. That's the craziness of it. And her stage name, Lacey. She's gone by Lacey. Her whole family knows her as Lacey, even though she has posted and lied over and over again that her whole life, her whole family has called her Michelle. No, they never have. You talk to any of the family members, it's Lacey. They call her Spacey Lacey. So Lacey had gotten very angry and grabbed the stepdaughter's arm and left a scratch on the stepdaughter's right arm. Okay, right there, we can see that's physical, we're just going to call it abuse, okay? We're going to call it abuse. That's physical abuse right there. And the stepdaughter said that this morning, Lacey had gotten angry about the way that the stepdaughter was taking care of the dogs. A little later, by the way, Jamster, Jamie Starr, has also told us that LIEnette wanted to unalive the little dog over there on their property. And she did unalive some animals, and so has Crook. And intentionally unalived them. And if you're thinking, well, Jeremy, why are you saying unalive? It's YouTube. We got to be careful. It's family friendly. And LIEnette and Crook are anything but family friendly, as you will see here. Okay. A little later, Lacey found a soda can in the stepdaughter's school bag and found a lighter. Okay. Wait, hold a second. I think I skipped. It's tough with all these redactions. Okay, I did skip. A little later, Lacey found a soda can in the stepdaughter's room and the stepdaughter is not supposed to have soda. Really? Okay. All right. So I'm going to physically abuse somebody because they drank soda. A little out there, if you ask me. And then Lacey reportedly went through the stepdaughter's school bag and found a lighter. Now, let's just pause right there, because when we went through this report, Lacey was very proud that she had a boyfriend half her age who also had a lighter, and it was lighting up some little, we'll just call it Mary. Yeah, Mary Jane. So Lacey doesn't have any problem with the boyfriend half her age in the house lighting up, but she has a problem that the stepdaughter has a lighter. All right. And so the stepdaughter said that the situation kept escalating and that the stepdaughter reported that Lacey then hit her. Right here. You might be able to read it better than me. Lacey hit her in the arm. Okay. Lacey hit her in the arm. Now we have physical abuse yet again. Lacey hit her in the arm, leaving a red mark, and that Lacey kicked the stepdaughter, pushed the stepdaughter, pulled the stepdaughter's hair. Just so we all understand, and you don't think I'm making this up, that Lacey kicked the stepdaughter, pushed the stepdaughter, pulled the stepdaughter's hair. Is this an individual who should have children? I mean, I think we can all come to the same conclusion on this. That we've already seen here, at a bare minimum, although it doesn't say bipolar, if not schizophrenic, but absolutely Munchausen by proxy, even though it doesn't state those exact things here. And I'm not a professional. I'm giving my opinion as I've worked in social work for many, 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 many years. Now, I was not certified, but the reality is I was trained to see the signs, and I can see it over and over and over again. Now, again, these are my opinions, but take it for what it's worth and take the evidence, take the things that you have been shown, the things that you've seen, the things that we've exposed, and formulate your own opinion based on those things. Don't ever foolishly just believe. Gather the evidence, okay? Even when I'm sharing it with you, don't just foolishly believe it and go, well, Jeremy said this about LIEnette, therefore it must be true. No, gather the evidence, get all the evidence together and formulate an educated decision based on the evidence. Not based on what you think, not based on what you feel, based on evidence. That's what a good reporter does. That's what a good journalist does. That's what a good person does. All right, so let's keep looking here. Stepdaughter said that Lacey then told her that she could not go to school or group therapy today. What parent uses not going to school as a punishment? Well, let me clarify this with you. Or group therapy, knowing that your stepdaughter needs the group therapy, it's healthy for her and it's healing for her. And who uses this as a punishment? A person who knows that they just abused that child, and there's going to be mandatory reporters at school, mandatory reporters in the group therapy session. This has nothing to do with a punishment for the stepdaughter. This has everything with Lacey or LIEnette trying to protect what she just did, because what she did should have sent her to jail, where she's eventually going to end up anyway for continuing to violate civil protection orders here in Florida. I hope you grasp that and you get that. You're smart enough talking to the camera right now, and if anybody's on the other side, I don't know. It's not like I know who watches anything. I can't predict who's going to watch anything. But I'm sure there must be somebody out there. You have to log on to YouTube, you get the video, you click on the video, you want to watch it. You out there are smart enough to understand that this wasn't a punishment. This was LIEnette trying to protect herself from incriminating herself. She doesn't want to go to jail where she's ultimately going to end up anyway. No loving, nurturing parent keeps their children from growth and keeps their children from healing. As we can see here, LIEnette is not a loving parent. Again, my opinion. That is my opinion. You take it for what it's worth based on what I see. All right. Last word here on page 1. is the stepdaughter, and it goes into continuance. So continuance here, page 2, and we have 4 pages. Stepdaughter said she left the house at that time and she took the bus to the high school. And the stepdaughter said she was afraid. She was afraid the police and Lacey, or LIEnette, were looking for her. And she was afraid of what might happen to her if she was returned. If she was returned to Lacey's home, okay? Of course she's afraid. She was just assaulted. I mean, what child isn't going to be afraid? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, it's high school. She's a teenager. You think a teenager doesn't fear? You think a teenager doesn't... Whether you are 6 or 16, physical assault is the same. And it not only hurts physically, and where it hurts the most is internally. I mean, it's hard to shake that off. And so, of course, she's going to be in fear. She goes to school. She doesn't know what's going to happen. She doesn't know what Lacey, unpredictable, unstable, mentally off Lacey, LIEnette, same person, doesn't know what she's going to do next. Now she's feeling like she did something she's in trouble for. She's not in trouble. She didn't do anything wrong. But her whole fear is, by the way, I got an entire judge right now in a case who says that I'm unreasonable, fearing that I will not get a fair trial from him. He sounds a lot like Lacey, doesn't he? Sounds just like LIEnette. Well, LIEnette's going to say, why in the world was she afraid? And DeThomas has said, why in the world is Jeremy afraid? Because what you do is illegal. Both of them. What LIEnette did was illegal. What DeThomas has done was illegal. So let's keep going on. The stepdaughter said she was scared. She wanted help. She walked from the high school to the counseling services office. Look at this. She was scared and she wanted help. So she walked from the high school to the counseling services, right to the office. For a high schooler to leave her friends, to leave high school, and to go straight to a counseling office. Do you realize this isn't a high schooler that went to go goof off, to go smoke behind the building, go run around with a boy or anything like this. This is a high schooler that went straight to the counseling services. This isn't, I'm just going to run out of school because I'm scared. This is, I'm going to go to counseling because I'm scared. There is a major problem. There's a major issue. I'm going to the only person that I know that can help. For somebody to skip school at this age and go straight to the counseling services, there's a major, major problem. And so what happens here? This therapist then contacted the sheriff's office. Here we go, contacting more sheriffs. Anybody want to guess what the sheriff did? Well, I can probably tell you about the same as what the sheriff has done here in Levy County. The therapist then contacted the sheriff's office to inform them where the stepdaughter was. Deputy Paul came to speak with the stepdaughter at the counseling services and took a statement from her. The therapist, which I said this already, but I want to clarify. There are communications going on right now with this therapist about the therapist coming forward and sharing everything. But to do that, the stepdaughter must release the therapist to openly discuss everything. And that means in court, that means online, YouTube, the media. And so that is in the works, in the process. And she does want to come forward because LIEnette and all of her birds of a feather flock together, mentally unstable followers. LIEnette's mentally unstable fans. She's a public figure. They're all trying to attack this therapist. So I don't think this therapist wants to come forward and retaliate. I think this therapist wants to come forward and share the record and set it straight. Truth is truth. Evidence is evidence. And you can't deny the evidence just because you think, just because you feel, just because LIEnette lies about it. All right, so let's keep going forward. This therapist also called DHS, which is Children's Services for some of us, and the worker's name is Dana, who recommended calling the abuse hotline. And the therapist reported the incident to the abuse hotline. We should just call it BUS. B-U-S, drop the E, drop the A, drop the E. We'll just call it bus from now on. If I say bus, you understand what I mean. So if you take the A and then you put it with the buse, and then that's the word, but we're just going to start calling it bus from now on. It's a little bit simpler, and it works better for YouTube as well. It works better for the media platform. All right, and they called the hotline, and the case was referred to Rex, who said he would investigate the case. And the school liaison, Marcus, was also contacted. He's been involved in the stepdaughter's case due to the excessive absence from school. You understand the excessive absence is LIEnette saying, as consequences, as punishment, you can't go to school. How insane is that? Not that anybody ever has called Spacey Lacey or LIEnette sane, right? After all the information was taken from the stepdaughter, she returned to school where Rex said he would talk to her about the alleged bus. You understand, you remember what bus means, right? The alleged bus. The therapist also contacted Lacey, which is LIEnette, to let her know where the stepdaughter was and that the police and DHS had been contacted. Now, let's just stop right there. You understand that you can predict what a person is going to do. You can predict what a person is going to react, how they're going to react, based on their pattern of life. And what is LIEnette's life pattern? All right, number one, 39 aliases. When life gets tough, she burns all bridges there. She changes her name. That's what a con scam artist does. So go to another place. Oh, if I get in trouble and they don't come up with that name in the system, I have a new name. Here's another alias, and another alias, and another alias. How many men has she conned so far? 7. Who in their right mind would ever be with this woman? You understand, you have to be out of your mind to ever be with a person like this. I hope you get that. Like, there is no sanity, no sane person in this world that would ever put themselves in a situation with this woman. As a matter of fact, as a sane person, I sent a cease and desist. As a sane person, I went and got civil protection orders. As a sane person, I'm taking her to federal court, and it's going beyond that. She just doesn't know it yet. And there's more she's going to be hit with this week that she has no clue. And when I say hit, I do not mean physically in an altercation. I want to clarify that. There are more things that she does not see coming that is going to happen to her this week. What's her pattern with children? Well, we can see, number one, she doesn't know how to be a parent. As a matter of fact, this certified psychiatrist said she's never seen any parenting this bad in her 10-year career at that point, serving a low-income populace. Now, to say that in the first place, you've never seen anything that bad. Mind-blowing. What's her pattern with children? Her pattern is she should not be around children. And yet she wants to claim that she raised 8 all by herself and all 23 of her grandkids. Now, how is it that she's raising all of her grandkids from these 8 kids that don't want anything to do with her? LIEnette actually had an injunction placed on her by a judge to stay away from her grandkids. And yet LIEnette is still out there claiming she raised 23 grandkids. You understand more lies. The pattern of this woman's life is lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. Destroy people's lives, destroy people's lives, destroy people's lives. Extort them. Get what you can from them. Extort them. Get more from them. Extort them. Get more. Tell them if they don't do what you say they're going to do, you're going to call them a child rapist. You're going to start calling agencies and say that they are a child busser. That's her pattern, and that's who she is, and that's what she does. She's a horrible human being. Absolutely horrible. Who's destroyed more lives than we could have ever anticipated as more people keep coming through the woodwork, reaching out to us and saying, this is my part of the story. This is my part of the story. And understand that George and I have never reached out to anybody, not a family member, not the child's biological family, not anybody, not neighbors, not anybody. They've all reached out to us. That's how disgusted they are with this woman. They've reached out to us. You understand they have to take extra steps to actually do that. They want to be heard. They want their story out there to be told, the truth to finally be told about this woman. She's gotten away with so much destroying of people's lives. And psychiatrist says that Lacey sounded angry. I wonder if Lacey went, "You're a bad woman!" My mom died! Mrs. Preston, can you give us any information in regards to evidence your mom died? My mom didn't die! I mean, we've seen the psychoticness of this woman already. We endured it for 7 hours during the deposition, and while, yes, it is extremely hilarious, it is also extremely concerning that any child would be in this woman's care whatsoever. Lacey sounded angry. She said she had hit. Oh my goodness. She actually admits it. Look at this. She said she had hit the stepdaughter. She admits to actually hitting her stepdaughter. Okay. But said it wasn't hard enough. Okay, I could, go through the rest of that. Says it wasn't hard enough, but the rest is to leave a mark. As if that matters. She never in a million years should have hit her stepdaughter in the first place. Whether it's hard enough to leave a mark or not. No hitting, period. That's it. End of story. Nothing else. That is the rules. Now, you may be thinking, well, what about spanking? What about Proverbs? Spare the rod, spoil the child. Okay, there's a whole different aspect and technique, okay? And there are those who are for it and there are those who are against it. The reality is LIEnette hit her stepdaughter purposefully, intentionally, to cause harm. And then her response is, it wasn't hard enough to leave a mark. What a horrible person. What an utterly horrible human being. And it goes on to say, when Lacey, or LIEnette, was told DHS was involved, Lacey responded by saying, I hope you guys see this, they can just take her. Why does this woman have a child in her care? How could this woman have a child in her care? She's destroyed so many innocent children as it is already. She's destroyed the reputations of innocent men. She's attempted to completely and utterly destroy my reputation, placing signs double-sided all over Otter Creek, Route 19, the main highway, stating that I'm a child rapist. To the point, one even states that I rapist her own daughter. Now, that's interesting because last I checked, Levy County Sheriff Department never got a phone call. At least I wasn't contacted, and we all know Levy County deputies know exactly where I'm at. I mean, they bring me hit messages right in front of a community meeting that I've never attended before in my life. And if there was any allegations, I promise you they would have been there and on that. And yet nobody was contacted. Nobody has said anything to anybody about anything. And yet she went and tried to destroy my reputation as she's destroyed so many others. And what does she say? Children's Services can just have her. Now, is this the same woman that posted on Facebook that she raised 8 children all by herself, 23 grandkids all by herself? This is exactly the same psychotic, unstable, deranged woman who goes on to say, again, I can't make this up. Look at it. They can just take her. It's gut-wrenching, isn't it? For those of you out there that are parents and you know what nurturing and loving is and what your children need, and that you would do anything for your kids, no matter what my kids have ever done or what my kids will ever do, I will never, ever, ever stop loving them. I may not like what they did, but I will never, ever stand before a children's services worker and say, you can just take them. Do you understand how soulless this comment is? Do you understand how heartless, how evil? It's evil. It's pure evil. This is in regards to this. I mean, it's enough to make you start vomiting right now. Goes on to say, Lacey, who is LIEnette, also called back early this afternoon and said she did not want the stepdaughter to return to her home. The therapist is currently waiting to find out the status of the bus investigation. Page 4, same certified psychiatrist, but different conversation now being taken notes on. So it says this therapist spoke to the stepdaughter's guardian. Remember, that's Lacey. And the crazy thing is the stepdaughter has a sister, okay? So this stepdaughter that we're talking about has a sister. They all have the same mom, but the two daughters have different dads. And you want to know what the craziest part is? LIEnette married both of these dads. What is LIEnette doing coming in, swooping? What men would ever allow this woman to swoop in? It's mind-boggling to me. I can't imagine being a man that would want to be with LIEnette. I just can't. I can't picture it. And yet, 7, maybe 8, Russ the Sus, maybe coming on down. It's like Price is Right. Russ the Sus, come on down. Remember.
I thought it was Russ the Sauce.
Remember, help control the meth population. Have Russ the Sus and LIEnette spayed or neutered, right? All right, let's keep going on here. This therapist spoke to the stepdaughter's guardian, Lacey Griffith, which is LIEnette Preston. Okay, same person. I know, million names, same person. Lacey or LIEnette reported that she was very upset and that now her daughter, now things change in this conversation to her biological daughter, okay? So the stepdaughter, and now we're going to start talking about the biological daughter. Now, she's very upset, which the biological daughter has been in full conversations with us as well for months and months and months now, okay? And we've actually shared publicly some text between LIEnette and her biological daughter, and there's just so much more. It's huge. I mean, there's so many layers with this many personality disorders with this individual. I mean, how could there not be so many layers? It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And of course, people want documentaries on this. I mean, this is crazier than Tiger King. And it is literally the turtle witch. Knock that W out. Throw in another word. All right. So Lacey reported that she was very upset now that her biological daughter was planning to move out too with her husband and the baby. Whoa! Oh no! My biological daughter's gonna move out of my house and take your husband and take a child. You mean like normal people? Of course they're gonna move out. Who in the world wants to live with their mom? Not me. Now, don't get me wrong. If my mom ever wants to move in with me, my mom will have access to everything I own, every property, my home. I mean, listen, if she wants to go in my bedroom and clean, have at it, Mom. But for me to go back and live with my mom, I could never, ever imagine that. And so now LIEnette is mad because her biological daughter is going to move out with her husband, with her child. You know, like normal people. Okay. And because Lacey or LIEnette stated that her biological daughter was calling Lacey, here we go, want to see it? Was calling Lacey, where'd I lost it? Oh, right here. Lacey, which is LIEnette, psychotic and crazy. Oh, so you think Jeremy Hales is the first one to catch on that this woman is psychotic and crazy? No. This is a pattern of life, a life pattern. Her own children want nothing to do with her. So much so that LIEnette goes on and creates a Facebook page about parental alienation because her own kids have alienated her from her grandkids. They don't want her as a part of their life. She's toxic. And right here you can say psychotic and crazy. You say toxic, psychotic, crazy, insane, mentally unstable. I don't care what it is. She's all of the above, in my opinion. All right. And our own kids will tell you as well. And it's funny that there are some people out there sticking up for this woman. There are fools out there giving this woman money, their hard-earned money. I don't know if they're giving it to her so that they can continue to see this unfold on a media platform through the news, WTH News. I don't know if they're giving her money, so they're thinking, okay, well, if I give her money for legal fees, that means there'll still be more for Jeremy and George to get after there's a settlement, and she's ordered to give Jeremy and George all of these things. Regardless, they will never see a penny again. They will never get anything out of giving her any money, and they're only enabling a psychotic, crazy busser to continue to be psychotic and crazy and to continue to bus. So let's keep going. Lacey or LIEnette said that her biological daughter was angry with each other, and this therapist was on the phone. Lacey said her biological daughter was they were arguing with each other while the therapist was on the phone with LIEnette. LIEnette stated that her biological daughter didn't like LIEnette's 22-year-old boyfriend because he smoked, well, Mary.
The devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce, okay? The devil's lettuce. He likes a salad as well. He's a vegetarian. And so she didn't like Lacey's new boyfriend, who is half her age, 22 years old, because he smoked the devil's lettuce regularly. And then, oh, by the way, you do realize that LIEnette is so upset and so mad that she found a lighter in the stepdaughter's backpack, and yet she moves in a 22-year-old who's lighting up like crazy. Any of this make sense? I mean, how do you understand the mind of a mental patient? You don't. All right. And LIEnette said that she thinks that her biological daughter won't take proper care of her baby and is concerned about children's services coming to the house because the baby's room was filthy. This coming from a woman who lives in complete and total filth, illegally living in a shed with no occupancy permit, has a child in there, literally pooping and peeing in a bucket. And she's worried about her own daughter raising a child in filth? My goodness! Crook is probably the nastiest smelling individual in all of Otter Creek, if not Levy County. Can you imagine just the stench from his knee? And she's worried about somebody else's filth. Wow. You think she would clean up her own life before she'd start talking about somebody else's? Seriously, it says filthy. Right there, in quotations, filthy. Quoting LIEnette. Lacey, or LIEnette, sounded very emotional and said that her biological daughter was making LIEnette choose between her new boyfriend and her actual biological daughter. Oh, by the way, her biological daughter is older than her boyfriend right now. Is that even a choice? Listen, if I had to choose, and no disrespect to anybody, okay? But if I had to choose between my children and a significant other, who's going to win? My children are. By the way, if you have to choose between your children and a significant other, I have a feeling that your children are going to win every single time. And it's not an ultimatum. It's what's best for our kids. We love them. And I'm going to assume we're all on the same page there, that our kids come first, okay? Now, I understand that God created relationships. Adam and Eve come together, they have children, and then they're to go and find a spouse and have children, and then they're to go. So there is an aspect where our children are to depart from us. But that doesn't mean we don't love them and they don't love us. We're to raise them not to be kids, we're to raise them to be adults and for them to go out and be high-functioning adults in society. So the whole goal is to raise adults. They go and raise adults, and they go and raise adults. So my oldest is 24. She is an adult. She's a homeowner. She's out there. She's making her life. She's probably going to get married soon. And that's a proud thing. It's not a thing where I would go, oh man, I got to choose between George and my daughter. No, your kids win every time. And by the way, George would say the same thing. Kids win out every time. I know this because I've had so many conversations with her about it. And here's LIEnette going, now my biological daughter's making me choose between my boy toy and my biological daughter. What am I gonna do? Somebody call Silverman! Call Silverman! No. It's a pretty easy decision. All right, let's keep going on. This therapist had to leave the office before the children's services worker had talked to LIEnette to make a decision. Like there's any type of decision. This therapist gave all of the information and the other staff at LCHC counsel, and some was a need for follow-up today. The therapist also made herself available to all involved by cell phone. It's amazing that LIEnette's children are high-functioning adults in society today after all she's done to them. By the way, the stepdaughter is thriving, not just surviving. The stepdaughter is thriving with her own children. And yeah, there's tough times. I have no doubt. She has to relive this. She's seen it unfold yet again on media. And yet, she is the victor. She is doing more than LIEnette ever told her she could do because LIEnette put her down. LIEnette physically assaulted her. And here she is out at the other end with her own family thriving. Not just surviving, absolutely thriving. And she has all of our love and all of our support. And I know she has yours too.